Are you kids ready to take some acid? No, not that kind of acid. I'm talking about lysergic acid dithylamide, but most of you know it simply as LSD. I've personally never done Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, but I probably wouldn't have a positive reception to various hallucinations going on. I already have to deal with that during my weekly sleep paralysis routines, and I can safely say that isn't fun at all. But speaking of sleep, dreaming. Let's be real, our dreams oftentimes make about as much sense as an actual LSD trip. I'll walk into a store with a non-sequitur name, enter the restroom only to find all the toilets replaced with lawn chairs, purchase a machine gun from the deli aisle, then proceed to the checkout line being run by one of the fucking Teletubbies. And then a bunch of Starburst candies will fly up someone's butthole. The next game can't recreate that scenario, but it sure comes close. Lsd Dream Emulator. A Japan-exclusive game courtesy of Asmic Ace, Lsd Dream Emulator has got to be one of the craziest, most nonsensical games of all time. So if you've ever wanted to do acid without, actually doing acid, then this is the game for you. Lsd Dream Emulator was conceived by digital artist and composer Osamu Sato. He never really intended to be a game developer, but saw the fledgling 3D technology of the PlayStation as an opportunity to sculpt his psychedelic artistic visions. That definitely shows in how this game plays. It's bereft of plot and merely an endless procession of randomly generated worlds, ranging from the more mundane end of the spectrum to the full-blown psychedelic side of things. How it works is such. There is a 365-day schedule in this game, with each day being represented by a dream or an FMV sequence. Occasionally you'll even get this Japanese text on screen and it'll simply progress to the next day. I'm assuming this is a simulation of just going to sleep and not dreaming. It's very hard to describe that occurrence since it's basically just a real-life time skip of how many hours you were asleep. You don't feel, hear, or see anything, just pure nothingness. Day 1 will always begin in this Japanese-styled interior, one of the many locations you can visit in LSD, and boy are there some interesting ones. If you ever run into a wall, it'll transport you to a new location. Now I'm in this field, I guess. I think I'll go down here. Okay then, it's sumowrestler.png, and the walls are made of beans. Suddenly I'm transported to the courtyard of famous architecture. The Eiffel Tower, the Pyramids of Giza, Big Ben, and the Empire State Building are all here. This is all very reminiscent of those liminal spaces photos you'll see on the internet, just through the lens of an acid head. The music in LSD is interesting to say the least. It was composed by aforementioned Osamu Sato. Each location of the game has at least an hour's worth of variations to the soundtrack, which utilize a plethora of samples. Some of it's your standard ambient music, and other times it sounds like randomness. It sounds like a barbershop quartet gargling mouthwash. And the sound effects are peculiar too. I'm running this game faster than I normally would since I'm now using DuckStation's hardware acceleration. The default walking speed and frame rate in this game is ass, but by speeding up the game, I've made the running sound effects sound like assault rifle fire being recorded through an Xbox 360 headset. As for the various locations, we have this historical Japanese village, featuring Buddhas roaming the street, and a Happy Town, which I swear to God looks like something out of Bubsy 3D, complete with random boxes in the sky and a... Geez, I wonder what B-52's song this is a reference to. The Violence District is a liminal space nightmare, complete with dead bodies on the street. Although if it weren't for the murder themes, this would probably have to be the most normal place in the game, which is really saying a lot. Occasionally you'll see these nondescript humans or animals in the levels. I should note that this game was released in 1998, the same year as Spyro and Gran Turismo. For a mid-era PS1 game, LSD is pretty poor in the visual department in terms of pixel and polygon count. Everything is very blocky and low-res even for the standards of the system. But somehow it just adds to the dreamy, psychedelic theme this game is going for, and it fits with how nondescript things can be in real-life dreams. I see this crane has dug up a rather deep hole. I think I'll jump inside it. Okay, I guess this is a factory that produces Minecraft blocks. Why are the gears green? I swear, the longer you play this game, the crazier it gets. Normal textures eventually get swapped out for kanji and psychedelic vomit, and it well and truly starts to resemble a bad acid trip. I mean, just look at these flying baby elephants, or this giant pair of lips. Yeah, sorry, but no thanks. Speaking of real-life dreams, this game actually made it hard for me to go to sleep one night because I stayed up until 12 playing it. I actually didn't dream at all that night aside from some brief sleep paralysis. Thank God Osamu never made a sleep paralysis demon simulator. I'd fucking hate to play that one. Occasionally you'll be greeted to these oddball FMV sequences, some of them animated and others live action mixed with the occasional CGI UFO for extra measure. These two are extremely bizarre, like a scene of a kid eating sausages, okay, or an elevator opening up to a fishbowl. This almost reminds me of an Adult Swim program called Off the Air, an underrated random clip show tailor-made for the stoner crowd. I can only imagine playing this game while on weed or acid. It's already a trippy experience without the mind-altering drugs. Unfortunately, I'll have to reluctantly say that this game's novelty can wear off somewhat quickly. There's only about 10 or 12 locations, and soon the minor random elements will be drowned out by the overwhelming sense of deja vu. At times, this game can feel like a walking simulator. Combine that with a frame rate that is unacceptable even for PS1 standards, and it might even give you a headache after a while. Seriously, what exactly is so taxing about this game to warrant it running at 20 frames per second? The graphics sure as hell aren't anything impressive, and Spyro and Gran Turismo, as mentioned earlier, have some of the best graphics on the system and all run great. To be fair, you can speed up the game in DuckStation to run at 30 FPS plus, but that results in unintended perpetual running and noticeable reduction of dream time. I simply think that LSD is, outside of its impressive psychedelic imagery, a poorly programmed PS1 title. It makes sense when you consider Osamu Sato never even wanted to be a game dev. This is something he and his crew made to push their artistic boundaries. If you look at this as a game, it falls short in terms of production values. But as an interactive avant-garde art piece, it's truly remarkable. It makes me wish for more games like this. The closest thing I can think of to a Dream emulator nowadays are those liminal space/dream maps for Gmod. I've played some rather sweet maps in that category, and they're very fun to just walk around in. The idea of a more realistic dream simulator still containing the psychedelic overtones is something I'm surprised indie devs haven't picked up on yet. Lsd Dream Emulator truly is a one-of-a-kind experience that everyone must play before they die. Since this wasn't released anywhere else other than the place that got nuked twice, emulation is about your only option. I would go with DuckStation, seeing as it absolutely curb stomps EPSXE into oblivion. I've only recently started using it, and I still have some things to sort out, but for PS1 games in the future, I think this will be my way of recording that system's library from here on out. In short, I would recommend you try LSD, the game, not the drug. There's nothing else like it, and probably never will be. So if you've got a PS1 emulator installed, fucking go for it. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoy my content and want to support the show, feel free to donate over on Ko-fi. I also have a Discord server with all sorts of great stuff, such as video game discussions, art, music appreciation, and more. The links are in the description. As always, thanks for watching. This is your local Thrash Panda Slayer, signing out.